sky.
Pain has a face. Allow me to show it to you. I am pain.
All right. Good evening, boys, girls, ghost schools, family, and friends. Welcome to this week's episode of Sacrificial Terror Podcast. Tonight is our 9th episode. I am Sam, I am Mason, and with me always is the fabulous Miss
Zombie Barbie.
And my brother from another mother, Mr.
Lance Wagner.
And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have an absolutely amazing, special, very talented guest of a iconic nature. Tonight's show, brought to you by Sacrificial Pawn Productions and produced by Samantha Wagner and Miss Zombie Barbie. Tonight's show, the one and only Tyler fucking Shea Cone. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the next generation with Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey. Mr. Tyler Shea Cone, welcome.
Thank you very much. And Robbie Jacks.
That's right.
And Robbie Jacks, right. I mean, we haven't gone through the list yet, but, of course, I got to go on Wiki, and IMDb and pull up the facts, and throw all this shit out there. But, no, it's an absolute honor and a pleasure to have you, man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for showing on. And we love the ambiance, man.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
A little bit of fire, a little bit of water, a little bit of trampoline action over my shoulder right here.
Right?
That's my wife and my son.
Don't get hurt.
Nice. Are they hiding behind the bush or what?
No, they're just the
trampoline.
they're just going nuts. If she does a backflip, I'm going to be very impressed.
Nice.
It'll be caught on camera.
Can we
On camera.
Hey Zombie, can we zoom in on that in post and see if they actually do that?
Yeah.
I can
Nice.
do it. I'll do a backflip.
All right,
Right on.
go over there, do a backflip.
Oh yeah.
45 years old. I'll do 2 of them.
Hell yeah.
Not at the same time, but
Right?
I want to learn to do a backflip.
Yeah.
I want to be like Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Isn't that cool? I loved that
Yes.
movie.
Mhm. Yeah. My kid is his record right now is 9 in a row on a 14-foot trampoline.
Holy crap.
Damn.
9 in a row.
Like just keep
Wait,
going.
How does
Is
he
it
do
Yeah.
in the same spot or is it you move along?
No, in the same spot.
Wow.
It just jumps and flips, jumps and flips, jumps and flips.
Mhm.
I'd be so dizzy
Yeah.
after that.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No. Well, so I have pictures and video of him at the jump park, going from trampoline to trampoline all the way across the entire arena, doing backflips.
Oh, that's cool.
It's amazing.
So from one to the next, so they have the
Yeah.
separation, so he just does a backflip and
Right.
then backflip.
Into the next one, yeah.
Nice.
It's amazing. Like his technique and everything, and just keeping it going is fucking awesome.
That's like Tom Holland. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen any of this stuff because my son is obsessed with Spider-Man as I was when I was younger. But Tom Holland is an actual
Like he can do that stuff.
Oh man, he does the things where he'll run and he'll do like over something that's like 36 inches high, and he'll do a front flip over that.
Oh, wow.
He does a lot of parkour. I forgot what they call it. But he does-
Parkour.
Yeah.
I want to scale buildings and shit. That'd be cool.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Hell yeah.
He does all that, like jumping from off of roofs and all that kind of stuff. Like to me, after watching some of the stuff, it's no surprise that he is in that role, and that I believe he is going to be more iconic in that role than any of the other people, including Tobey Maguire and all those guys, because he really he kind of is more of that character than anybody else ever has been, and I think they really did a good job casting him.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, all right, let's talk about it. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the next generation. Dude, what an iconic franchise to do.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the audition process and how you came about getting that role.
Oh, okay. So I was friends with a guy named Josh Logan, who he did a lot of special effects in Austin locally. And he eventually changed his name to J.M. Logan, and he's still in the industry today. But he and I were friends before this. Now, I was doing a little bit of theater work, and I had done some extra work because the film industry around that time was starting to Ann Richards was the governor at the time, and she started to bring in more of the industry. So as that came in, there were opportunities for extra work, and there were opportunities for all these things. And there was a movie called, at the time it was called Johnny Zombie, and then they changed the name to My Boyfriend's Back. It was a Disney film.
Okay.
I remember that one.
Do you do?
Yes.
Yes. So that yeah, it was entertaining for sure. So Bob Balaban directed this. I believe Zombie, what was the character I'm sorry, I'm blanking on who this guy
I do it
was.
all the time.
He's a very, very famous actor, and he passed away a few years ago. And he was in the
In My
the
Boyfriend's
bow and
Back.
arrow. No. Well, he was in that. He was the bully, and he got hit in the head with the axe.
I remember that. I'm trying to think of who the actor was. Let's see, cast.
He
We'll
was
find
in
it.
he was in the Jennifer Lawrence films. Jennifer Lawrence, and she did the bow and arrow.
Oh, the Hunger Games movies?
Yes.
He
So Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yes, okay.
Oh,
I was thinking younger. I was going younger.
I was
Okay.
thinking
No,
younger
so
too.
Philip Seymour Hoffman was in this film.
Okay.
okay.
My first time in the bullpen for the extras, and Philip Seymour Hoffman came in, and he was the coolest person out of the entire cast. He came in, talked to us, hung out with us. He joked around with us. He was super funny. He was like really in that character of just.
Had he done Boogie Nights already? Was that?
No.
That was way before.
Way
Okay.
before that. So anyway, in this film, they put me right next to the two lead actors in this lunchroom scene, and I remember watching these two lead actors do their scene, and I'm like, "That's it." Like, they're just talking.
I can do this.
Yeah, I had done theater, and then I'm watching these guys, and I'm like, I could do that.
That's awesome.
And so I kind of had this, this whole thing of like, maybe film is like what I really want to do. So my friend Josh Logan, J.M. Logan, he was doing special effects on Chainsaw. He told me that I needed to submit a picture and try to get an audition for the film.
Right.
So he let me know about that. I sent it in to Return Productions. They called me up. I came in for an audition. I actually auditioned with Lisa Newmeyer, who was my girlfriend, Heather, in the film.
Right.
And we just hit it off. The chemistry was there. They had a really hard time finding my character. And for whatever reason, literally that night, Kevin Cathell, who was the production manager, called me, and she asked if I wanted to make a movie. And I was like, yes, absolutely. And she was
Hell
like,
yeah.
That's awesome.
like, I haven't told you how much we're going to pay you. And I'm like, I don't care.
Right?
Yeah, let's do this. So,
Yeah.
and one of the reasons why, because Chainsaw to me was, even though I was younger, like I was born when the first one came out. But when I first moved to Austin in 86 or 87, my dad's office was on one of the locations where they filmed it.
Okay.
Nice.
I remember my dad telling me like they filmed Texas Chainsaw here, and it was, to me, I just remember standing there like they shot that movie here.
Right.
This was an actual set, and
So cool.
that was a life-changing moment for me because it was the first time that I had ever come in contact with that world. To me, that was always just so far away and so,
Right.
you know, just fantastical that I couldn't reach it.
And then it ended up in a chainsaw movie.
Yeah, then I ended up in a Chainsaw movie. You know? And so when I got it, there was that fascination of it being a chainsaw movie, but it was also, you know, it was like one of the first times that I had ever auditioned for anything. So I didn't have the understanding of how difficult it was to get into this industry. I was like, oh, I'll just do this forever.
Right.
You know, but it was still a good growing moment for me, and you know, kind of learning how that industry works, because I had never auditioned for anything.
Right.
And I went in, I did the audition with Lisa, and when we left, I was like, that was it? She's like, yeah.
Right.
You know, we'll just wait and see what happens. I'm like, okay, you know, and I wasn't expecting anything, and I got that call from Kevin, and I was just blown away.
Nice.
Were you nervous?
Dude, that
going
is
in?
awesome.
Was I nervous? Maybe. I don't think I knew enough to be nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I know more, I think that nerves kind of, they figure out their way in more now than they did back then. I was so young and so naive and just didn't understand. And it was just, you know, because for me, I was doing a lot of theater stuff. And so somebody says, okay, well, go here and you're going to act like a jerk. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll just act like a jerk. And it just didn't, it didn't seem that difficult to me. Right. But what happened to me halfway through the film was I got into an acting class with an instructor. And this is something for everybody that wants to get into this industry. There are instructors and there are acting coaches that will take their own anxieties and their own fears and their own nervous tension, and they'll try to pass it over to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when you're talking to them or when they're trying to teach you and everything, they're going to try to instill their own fears into you. So you may not even have them, but they're going to convince you that you do.
You have them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
But it's theirs. It's not yours. It's theirs.
Wow.
So that's when I started to pay more attention to my performance and what I was doing and how I do it and how I say it and all this kind of stuff. And to be honest with you, you know, I took that class halfway through the movie, and I can tell when I watched the movie, I'm like, that was after, you know? And so it's unfortunate. And I think that, and I'm not saying that people shouldn't take training and they shouldn't do classes and everything. I think that everybody should do something. You have to expose yourself to the industry. You have to expose yourself to acting and the audition process. And, you know, the audition, that's not the end of it. Like, you go and do this like really nerve-wracking audition and you get the job has just begun.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going to be on set with the director and other actors and people that are expecting you to nail it like right then, and then they want you off the set. So you have to always be there in the moment. And I think that there's a lot of people that can, with their own anxieties, can try to pull you out of that, you know? And I think that's what happened to me. Right. You know, halfway through the film. And I think, Sam, I'm sorry, I just went totally off on a huge tangent.
No, that's what we do here, man. Yeah. You know, we're here to gather your experience. We're talking about your films, your projects. Nice. So, you know, you're our guest, man, dude. You know, and I have a really bad habit of cutting people off and trying to get back to topic, and you know, and all this other shit. You know, especially with Zombie. I love you, sweetheart, but you know, I know I'm kind of an asshole sometimes. You know, but you know, I play that character well. So, you know, so what was it like for you?
If you want to talk a lot of times. Right. I'm here.
Excuse me. But what was it like for you to like work on that big of a set? And then you said you had the issues with, with the acting coach changing your perception of yourself.
Right.
And you saw it on, in who your character was on screen. So how did that, when did you notice that taking effect, and how did you feel about that? Did you even notice it on set?
No, I did notice it on set. I noticed it in the car scene. So we shot the majority of the film. I believe the first thing that we shot was at the school, when Heather catches me cheating on her. And then we go out to the car, and then we do the car scenes and everything. So
I only kissed her.
Once.
I kissed her once. What's wrong with that?
It's so funny you mention that, because, as a matter of fact,
what is that?
There we go, guys.
Oh, you have it on.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Way to go, Sam.
There you go.
Hell yeah. So you're talking about this scene. This is just after they left the high school.
Okay. Yeah. So when we go in the so this is when we're in the woods. So when we're in the woods right there, I'm a little more calm. I'm a little more like myself. Before that, it was a little more of that other.
I love when you go, shut up. That was like.
But that, so, and we were in a warehouse, and it was freaking like 110 degrees inside that warehouse when we were filming all of this.
Oh,
right.
So when we're inside the car, it was ridiculous. And so we would get out of the car, we would try to take off all the sweat and everything. Then back into the car. And so
I have really driving. You're in a warehouse.
Yeah, we're in a warehouse.
Oh,
so
that's crazy.
We had guys with huge black wheels with holes in it, so they would spin the wheel that would make it look like leaves are going.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And we had people on the car that were just kind of pushing it down to make it look on the road and everything.
Right.
Movie magic.
Yeah, movie magic. But it was those were the last days. So we had already done so much of that stuff, and then we got there to film those scenes, and I never, like, if somebody has a camera on you and they just say, well, just be yourself, and you don't have any else or anything else to think of other than being yourself, you're just going to be yourself. Right. But if somebody like an acting coach or somebody says, well, you need to think about this and think about this, and you need to worry about the way that you look and which angle, which side is going to be your best side, and you need to make sure that your chin is up and over the fence so you have a strong jawline, like all this kind of stuff. And now all of a sudden your brain is filled with all these things and you can't be yourself. And so I remember, like, after going through all that, and she was more of a dramatic coach where it was like soap opera style. And I remember getting on that in the car and being afraid of if I was blinking, and being afraid if I was moving too much, because I knew that the camera was right outside the window where Lisa was, because it was the camera, Lisa, and then me. And so I knew that because there was such a short distance, I couldn't move that around that much. That's what I was taught. And I really think that as an actor, like if you're in that kind of a position, I don't think anybody moves around so much that the camera's not going to be able to catch you.
Yeah.
Right.
People always say, don't blink too much. Don't look in other eyes. Like, you have to look in one eye, which I have a habit when I'm doing a scene with somebody, I look in one eye, and that's fine. But you see people do it all the time. Like, you look at professional actors, look at both eyes with the scene partner that they're working with. And I really believe that there's like this, there's an interjection of rules that aren't really necessary. Right. And I think that it makes people who are naturally talented, who are naturally themselves, who are interesting as their own people, it puts in these set of rules that makes them not themselves, and so that's what I felt like happened to me halfway through the filming of this film.
I got you.
And I'm not trying to blame anybody for anything. I mean, my performance is my performance, and I completely own that. But I do feel like, you know, because Matthew and Renee were the same way. They didn't have any training yet.
Right.
Oh.
They've been able to have very, very, you know, successful careers.
Right.
Now, I don't know.
All right.
Fun living, L-E-V-I-N. So Renee, I don't know where Renee was with, after we lost touch, I don't know where she was training wise, but I know that for the first few years of Matthew's career, you know, he hadn't had any training either, but he is just one of those people where it's like, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
He is who he is.
Right.
You're going to try to make him somebody else. You're going to try to take away his accent. No.
Yeah.
You know,
that ain't going to happen.
no, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. I went off on a ramble. So
No, it's great.
Perfect.
Like, we love that. It's better than like not
Perfect.
having anything to talk
Yeah.
about. So this is all good.
That's what we do here.
I have a lot.
Yay.
That's when I met Tyler last September at a convention in Austin, or in Bastrop, right outside of Austin.
Right.
And the funny thing for me was I was on this hunt for these DVDs. Anything I could find horror related, I was buying.
Aw.
So I go and I get the first one. And so when I get that one, I get home to put it in the player. It's broke.
Oh.
So Chris Foreman at Dimensions, give a little plug for Chris there. I go back, take it to him. I exchange it. They didn't have another copy. I take it back, or I go back again. They got this copy. I go home and I watch it. And this is like, 20-something years later, right, Tyler, from when it first came out.
Yeah, I'm 45 now. I was 19 then.
So I remember.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I remember thinking, that movie was bad. People talk bad about it, blah, blah. Yeah. So now that I'm so much more mature, you know, if I was a mature 40. well, I'm watching with different eyes, right? And I'm going, this is a pretty damn good movie, you know? And the whole time I'm oblivious that I'm going to meet Tyler at the freaking convention. I know I'm excited about the convention, and I know I'm going to meet him, but I'm completely oblivious to it. So I'm watching them going, man, this is really good. This is really good. So finally, him and I get face to face, and we start talking about it. And I'm like going, I don't know why it catches so much shit. It's a really good movie. I think it's a really good movie.
I liked it a lot.
You know, and I said I think I told Tyler, I'm hoping this movie gets like what Halloween 3 is getting now. That it's like everybody's going Halloween 3's. Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. I'm hoping eventually this happens for Texas Chainsaw: The Next Generation.
Yeah.
That's for me and him kind of hit it off and talked about that for a while.
Yeah.
You know,
all the cool stories.
Do you mind me asking, like, when you watched it, because that was before you and I had met. Right. What did you like about it?
I think a different take on it. And I asked, I think the Matthew McConaughey is just over the top.
Right.
I mean, completely over the top. I love that about it. But I think everybody meshed well together. Like I said, not even knowing who you were, I was like, this guy's an asshole. I can't wait for him to die. You know? You know what I'm saying? It was like Paul Partain from the original, who was also in your movie. He was an orderly or whatever.
Yep.
So he was Franklin. That's what he was. Franklin in the original in the wheelchair.
Right.
And I was telling Zombie yesterday, I said, I think, and I could be mistaken, I think Kim was going for, I want Barry to be the guy like Franklin. Like everybody was ready for Franklin to, you know, bite the dust because he was so annoying. And in your case, you weren't annoying. You were a mean guy.
I thought it was funny though, and I was like, oh man,
very funny.
He died. He should have like
when the guy came at you with a shotgun and you gave him the slip. You're like stupid, or when you shut the door. I was dying, you know. And then and Kim's cut, the director's cut, I actually say, "Where's the phone? I'm calling the cops." Okay, that's when I watched the other day. That's right. Thing to say, when you break into somebody's house. That's right.
Where's the phone?
But here's the thing: is like, because I remember, like, I had these conversations with Kim. Kim, let me give you just my perspective of Kim Hinkle. Okay. He's super quiet, very intellectual. And I believe, and this is just my opinion, I believe that the first Chainsaw that they did was too chaotic for him.
Oh.
So he wanted to redo this one. This was a reimagining. This wasn't like a sequel or anything like that. Like he kind of wanted to do Chainsaw with his own perspective.
Oh, Tyler, real quick. Since you're saying that, Slaughters, you had the Slaughters.
Right.
And the originals had the Sawyers.
Right.
So you're saying not related.
Not related.
Not related. Okay.
No.
We were wondering that.
We were talking about that.
Yeah.
Oh no, he because I remember asking him a lot of these things, like, is this a sequel? Is this? And it really was just a reimagining. And it was more where he had more control over this, where before it was him and Toby. And then this one was just going to be him. He wrote it, he directed it. And even though it was difficult for a lot of people to accept his reimagining, especially back in
early 90s, right?
Early 90s, you know, when you had like, you know, your Jasons and you had your gore and all this kind of stuff. He like purposely avoided that. All right. So, for example, one line that I said in the movie was, you know, it's bad for me to get all worked up and not get it. I can get prostate cancer. And I remember I talked to him and I said, it's prostate. And he said, yeah, but you're a jerk and you're stupid.
You're stupid.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it'd be funny if you say prostrate.
That's awesome.
So he didn't want me to just be this jerk. He wanted me to be a jerk, but I was I just didn't know any better.
Right.
You know? And so somebody can be a jerk and it's completely 100% their fault because they're assholes. Some people can be a jerk and they just don't know any better or they're ignorant. And even though you can still hate them and be mad at them, you kind of have to give them the little bit like, well, you know. And I think he kind of wanted that with me. So he didn't want people to completely hate me, but he wanted them to be amused by me.
He doesn't know any better.
Right. He wanted people to be amused by me. You know, the New York or the LA, whatever, the LA Times or LA paper, whatever it was, they said that I had an electronic news zipper scrolling across my forehead saying marked for death. You know, but I was like this, I was just ignorant, you know, and so there should be a little bit of this, well, you know, maybe he could get better. Maybe he could have a status change later on in the movie. Maybe he'll like figure out the error of his ways.
I thought you were. I thought you would come back. Like, I didn't think he was dead.
Right.
A lot of people thought that. And that actually, that kind of brings me back to what Kim's whole idea was, because the other thing that he said, other than me trying to be funny, was when I had the sledgehammer to my head, Josh Logan, JM, the one that actually helped me get the audition, he was the special effects artist, and he was the one doing the makeup on my forehead. And I remember talking to him like, are we going to do blood? Is it going to be like, you know, what are we going to do? And Kim was like, no, like just a little bit of bruise and that's it. We're like, no blood? He's like, no, I don't want any blood.
Yeah, there wasn't as much blood as I thought there would be.
He didn't want blood. So he didn't want that. He wanted it to be more of this intellectual, psychological kind of a thing. The only blood that you really see is on Lisa's face.
When she gets in the wreck.
Well, when she gets in the wreck, when Matthew steps on her head,
okay,
there's the blood on her face there, and then when the plane hits Matthew, there's blood. He bleeds out on the dirt road.
Right.
So there's really not any blood any other time.
Right.
And so Kim purposely didn't want there to be gore, because I really, like, everybody else got to have all this fun like makeup and stuff, and I wanted to have something.
Yeah.
You know? And so they did this little thing. It was the sledgehammer came down, I went down, and I tried to, just between you and us and anybody watching,
Right.
I tried to like kind of act it out a little bit, so I kind of like shook, like, like a shaking thing.
That's awesome.
It actually worked out on camera, but I remember going to Levi, was it Levi Isaacs, the cinematographer, and I was like, "Did you see? I did this," and he was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, I got it.
So unimpressed.
He was not impressed.
I did.
But
Dude, that's one of the things I love about method acting, and what method acting has taught me is like once you're in character and you're in that moment, you're in that moment. You know,
Yeah,
and
like,
it's
what
like,
would you
you know,
do?
every little thing that you do is like, you know, pat on the back.
yeah.
You know, it's like, dude, did you see that? Did we catch that? Was it good?
Right.
But not until after the scene's over.
Right. But it was so after we did this that scene, or where was I going with that? Oh, one thing that I have to say is I don't think Levi liked me.
Oh wow.
Oh no.
I was 19. I was obnoxious, and I don't think he liked me anyway. So no matter what I would have said to him, I did this, he was going to be an asshole no matter what.
Now was it because you were recording him?
No.
Did you not record him?
No, he was. He didn't. He didn't. There were a few people that didn't like me, and I don't know if that's because I was just so much in character,
Oh, okay.
or if I was 19 and just didn't know any better. But there were a few people. I mean, I honestly got along with so many people on the set, and I had great friends. Kevin Burv, who I have a lot of awesome footage with him. I have a lot of behind the scenes footage that I recorded myself.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I've got a lot. It's awesome.
Nice.
So, you know, so there were a lot of people, but there were a few that you know, it happens. And I was young and probably didn't know any better to, if somebody's not liking you, to kind of lay low and back off. Right. But to go back where we were talking about, where were we talking about?
About Levi not liking you?
Because again, I'm rambling on, like I'm going off in like different directions.
Several tangents. You're good.
That there wasn't much blood, and he didn't want much blood. He wanted.
Yes, going back to what Kim was saying, right. Blood and everything.
Good job, honey. Good job,
great producer. Great
producer. Very much. So that was kind of his whole thing, was he didn't want there to be gore. He didn't want there to be. He really did want to separate from the first one. And I know that's a really difficult thing to say, because the first one that's the anchor, and that's what everybody remembers, and that's the one that everybody really is into. But when we would talk to him about the first one, his memories of that were that it was just too chaotic, you know. And so he wanted to bring some sort of order, some sort of reason as to why this family was doing what they were doing.
Okay.
Which is why he introduced the Illuminati, or the Illuminati type character with Rothman.
Right.
Oh, see, I didn't catch that it was Illuminati.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that. That was his whole idea, was to kind of do the Illuminati, where it was like this underground organization underneath the government that has an ulterior purpose to, you know, to strike fear into people, which I don't really recall what the purpose was for that, but I know that it was more along Kim's line of, let's make this psychological, to where it could happen to anybody. Like anybody, if you go down to the store, somebody who's in there wearing a suit buying milk could be like this strange person that is just creating, you know, all this havoc around them or whatever. Mm-hmm. It was, but that's the way that Kim was thinking, you know. Right. I mean, he was really calm, and he wanted it to be more of this methodical, not just this slasher film, you know. Right. And which is funny, because he kind of created the slasher.
Right.
Isn't
that crazy?
You know. But it's almost like the you know, where he did create it, but maybe he just wanted to go a different direction. And Toby Hooper went the direction that he went, you know, and a lot of success and everything. And Kim's had a lot of success as well. But I think for whatever reason, he just wanted to kind of exercise some demons with this one. And, you know, if you guys don't mind me just rambling on, is it all right?
Yeah, you're
No,
right.
absolutely.
Okay, cool.
I do want to throw in real quick, though, before you do ramble on. You know, I can understand that from a filmmaker's perspective because there's a lot of psychology that goes into the little nuances that go into the background story of a film.
Right.
Like one of the things that I'm doing with Normal Terror is, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I'm not explaining in this first film, but I'm leaving Easter eggs and hints behind. So that way, when you see the second film, you're going to look at it and be like, oh, shit. That totally makes sense because, you know, as a filmmaker, it's our job to place these little things in there so that subconsciously your head picks up on it and it gives you that extra touch of fear that you never knew even bothered you. The sound of something, the background fire, you know, it may be something so minuscule, but your head isn't going to catch it. Subconsciously, your brain will catch it. And then once it clicks, you'll be like, oh, shit.
Right. And that's, I think that's what, you know, some like the best filmmakers are able to hide those kind of things because, you know, you don't necessarily want everything laid out for you.
Right.
You want to figure it out. And then when you watch it the second or third time or fourth, or in Lance's case, the 19th or the 32nd, you know, I'm sure that when Lance watches something for his 32nd time, he's like, oh.
I got both of them.
Got 2 copies.
Yes!
You got nice.
Tyler's on this one. Tyler does a interview on this one, so
Oh, cool.
Nice.
highly recommend. From Shout? Was from Shout?
Yeah,
Scream or Shout or
it was one of those. It might be on that disc right there. If you
it's Scream. It's Scream.
Okay, Scream
I think
Factory. That's
yeah,
right,
Scream
Scream
Factory.
Factory. Yeah, so I did that interview, and it was cool to do that because nobody had, you know, talked to me. But I like this format that we have going on right here because we can talk freely about anything.
Absolutely.
And it's not structured, and you know, because I have stories and I have, you know, memories from this whole thing that if people kind of understood where we were at the time, they might have a better understanding of why the film is the way that it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
I think it's going to get some long overdue love. I really do.
Yeah, because even Leatherface was different.
Well,
Exactly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Leatherface was very different in this one. And, you know, in a way, I understand it, you know, but I have a real hard time with some films because I break it down in a filmmaker's perspective.
Right.
You know, it's really hard for me to watch a film as nothing more than an entertainment value, you know, and get lost in the story.
Right.
So like, you know, I'm looking at camera angles, I'm looking at lighting, I'm looking at special effects, I'm looking at foley, I'm looking at, you know, all these different things to break it down and see how it's done. And, you know, so for me, in a way, the Leatherface that they did here didn't really hit my interest.
Okay.
You know, it was like, you know, okay, so Leatherface is a cross-dresser. It's okay. I'm trying to understand the nuances and why he would go there with it. You know, it's, you know, kind of like a Buffalo Bill type thing. You know, you know, would you fuck me? I'd fuck me. You know, the whole red pump, red lipstick.
Spoilers.
You know, yeah.
Right.
Spoilers, Sam.
So, okay, let me give you 2 perspectives on this.
Okay.
I'm going to give you one perspective from what I believe, what I believe was Kim's perspective, and I'm going to give you another perspective, which is what I believe was Robbie's perspective.
Okay.
So, when Kim hired Robbie to play Leatherface, if Robbie, like the Leatherface that you see in that film, is so much of Robbie. If that's not what Kim wanted, he wouldn't have hired him.
Right.
Right.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Robbie was a force. Now, I was 19 at the time, And Robbie and I actually, we became really good friends on the set. And then when I moved to Los Angeles, when I would come back to Austin, I would visit Robbie up until the time that he passed.
Mm-hmm.
And Robbie was Robbie. Like you can totally see it in his character of Leatherface.
Mm.
And so I think that was on purpose from Kim. The other thing is Leatherface, and you can see it in our film, and you can see it in the other films. Well, I don't want to say the other films. I think you can see it in the first one. Leatherface is not supposed to be a leader. Like Leatherface kills people and then puts on their skin and then becomes who they are, whether a man or a woman or whatever. So he's almost like got the mind of, for lack of a better word, of a child in a sense. So when he puts on somebody else's skin and he becomes that person, just like in our movie where he puts on the woman's skin and he's putting on lipstick and everything, be more feminine. And he's going to sit at the table like this, and he's going to, because he's becoming that person. And I think that is what Kim meant for Leatherface. Leatherface is not supposed to be like a Jason that just goes out and kills indiscriminately and just you're somebody who's alive, therefore I'm going to slash you up. He probably, you know, if it was his choice of who he was going to take, he would probably look at somebody who he'd want to be. Right.
That makes sense.
And so I think that there's a little bit more of that intellectuality that Kim wanted to kind of bring to it, which there's no way, if that's not what he wanted, he wouldn't write in a scene, Leatherface wearing a black dress, putting on lipstick in a mirror, doing all those kind of things. Like it just makes logical sense that that's kind of what he wanted everybody to see Leatherface as. Now, 25 years ago, kind of hard. Now, a little bit easier.
Oh yeah.
You see a lot of the stuff coming out where, you know, people that aren't Leatherface or serial killers and all this kind of stuff, like having challenges with gender identity and all this kind of stuff. And not that people need to relate with a horror film, but I think that it's an interesting look to not necessarily look at Leatherface as a particular gender, but just as a form that's going to take on whatever form he chooses.
Presented to it,
that makes sense.
Well, and I think that's I did a lot of psychology on serial killers when I was putting together my film. And, you know, especially Ed Gein, which is, you know, a big thing with Leatherface is, like, you know, who you know, that's basically based on is sections of, you know, of Ed Gein. So, you know, knowing the psychology behind that and the interviews that were done with him and, you know, the answers that they got and whatnot as to why he did it, you know, and being able to look at a person and put your spin on who they are by, you know, a book by its cover kind of thing, you know, is really the psychological interesting fact of that is that, you know, how do you know, because I mean, I like to people watch. You know, and I like to, you know, my son and I call it
airport and like,
right.
Everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my son and I will sit at Panda Express, and we call it looking out the fish tank. We'll sit at the fish tank.
Yeah.
Because when you're up at the window in a restaurant, it looks like, you know, looking in, you're looking at a fucking fish tank. You know, and so, you know, so we like to sit in the fish tank and look out at the people and shit, you know, and talk, whatever. But, you know, it's like when you're doing that, you know, you put these, you know, these stigmas on people, and you put these personalities to people that may not be anywhere near who they are, but it doesn't matter. Because that's what you perceive them as. So, you know, I can understand the nuances in psychology in that, and I think that's phenomenal and that's awesome. Looking at it from that perspective, it totally makes sense. So, I can appreciate that and have a new appreciation for the fact that, Leatherface, and it really opened up a lot in film as far as being, the first aspect of that really made the forefront, because this is back in, I think you guys shot in what, 93, 94?
Yeah. Yep. 93.
So, and then it was released in 95, 96, I think
97, 98. We had a few years, and I think it was right after, like, either Renee got Jerry
real
McWhorter
big,
or Matthew. Right. It was there was a delay, and then all of a sudden there was the release, but then there was the lawsuits, and there was the release and all this kind of stuff. And that actually, that's interesting, and not to go on too much of a segue here, but that kind of put a wedge between Robbie and Renee.
Okay.
Because they were actually pretty tight. And Matthew and Robbie had stayed in contact, but when her manager tried to separate everything, that really upset Robbie quite a bit. And as a matter of fact, it's funny because and I still have it on tape. I have this really long message from Renee when I lived in Los Angeles, and she was trying to catch up, and it was funny because she's like, I hope you're rocking and rolling, and it was like this manic like message. And then he was going to go play a Hasidic Jew, and so she had to focus on being a Hasidic Jew, and she had to do all these things, and it was really hard to get a hold of her. And so the best way to get a hold of her was to go through her manager, and so here's my manager's number, and it was literally like a 5-minute message. And then I remember calling the manager and saying, Renee told me to call here to get in touch with her. And he said, well, how does she know you? And in hindsight, I could have just said, I'm a friend of hers from Texas. But I said, we worked on Chainsaw together. And he laughed and he said, she's never going to talk to you again. And then he hung up.
That's fucked.
Wow.
So that was the last. And apparently Robbie said that she was very upset by what her manager said or did or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was pretty much how that whole thing went down.
Oh, that scared me.
Which was interesting.
That's my deaf dog being.
Oh, that was yours?
Yeah, like
It wasn't mine.
Scared the shit out of me.
but so yeah, so going back, Sam, what you were saying. So here's something that you guys know a lot more of than I do, because my experience with Chainsaw was my conversations with Kim. I had seen the first one, or at least most of it. When I talked to him about if it was based on anything true, he said no. He said it wasn't, that it was all made up. It was something out of his head. So what does that mean with the whole Ed Gein thing?
Yeah.
that's I don't. They said it's just kind of like inspired. Because Ed would wear people's skin.
Okay.
But I think that's as far as it went.
Maybe that's what it was then. So maybe he was inspired by it, and then because there were always the rumors over like this really happened, and
That's what I heard.
I remember asking him about that, and he was like, no, because that was just what Kim was he.
Well, and I think that was part of the marketing, kind of like what they did with the Blair Witch, and they marketed it as a true, real story, found footage, blah blah blah, and and I think back then, it really created something and a marketing niche for them to put it out as, based on true facts, based on true story. Even if they didn't promote it that way in the very beginning of the film, it's like, back in 1974, that was the story, and this is what happened, and
that was pretty cool.
There's this horrible family here, see, and what they did was these horrible things, see, and so
what's funny?
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
But it's like, they promoted it and put it out like, like this actually happened. And I mean, and I think it's a great thing because in reality, even with Normal Terror, to a certain aspect of it, the normal side of things is mine and my son's daily life. Mm-hmm. But the the terror side of things, and the serial killer side of things, isn't necessarily me at all. It may be my thoughts and my dreams at times, but it's not like who I am as a person. So adding that, I thought about marketing it that way. If we got a big distribution deal with one of the bigger companies and got picked up, and marketing it as based loosely on a true story, it's like, yeah, I could do that because it's technically mine and my son's life, and I'm putting a fucking camera there to record it.
There you go.
And then of course I'm doing, all this horrible stuff on the other side, which I don't really do, but maybe when I go to sleep, I dream about it. I don't know.
So what's interesting about what you're saying, though, so when Chainsaw came out, 73, which, and I'm sure any of you can say this, the date on the original Chainsaw was August, was it 20th?
Something like that. I think it's 74. I
thought it was 73.
The date.
Was it August 20th, 1973?
Oh, the release date?
Sam's gonna look it up. No, it was the date that the movie says. Like
on the movie. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Because if I'm right, this is really interesting. But Sam's
okay.
When did Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Let's see.
You guys can go ahead and keep talking.
Okay. so going with
it is based on Ed Gein.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
So I just watched this documentary on Ted Bundy.
Yes.
So Ted Bundy went from wherever he was, and then he went into Florida, and he got pulled over in Florida, and then wouldn't tell anybody who he was. And so nobody knew who he was, even though he already had this, like everybody knew who he was back at
Colorado or whatever
it was before. Yeah, Colorado. I believe it was Colorado, in Aspen or wherever it was before that. Right. And so we look at everything now in the sense of like, well, how could you not know? Like everywhere, like you have like this constant influx of information and data and pictures and all this kind of stuff. Well, back then,
Nothing.
He was able to go into Florida and nobody knew who he was.
Yep.
And so you take somebody like, Ed Gein, or you take, like a family like the Sawyers, and the rumors that have to spread by word of mouth across the country.
Absolutely.
It's going to be,
it gets lost in translation.
Yeah.
August 18th, 1973.
That's when the movie was set, I guess.
3 days before I was born.
That's awesome.
Wow.
August 21st, August 21st, 1973.
That's awesome.
So I remember seeing that and being like, "Oh my gosh, that's right there." It was so cool.
Right?
My mom just would have pushed harder.
Hey, did you at the convention, Tyler? Did you go to the gas station?
I didn't.
Oh man,
I want to. I know. I want to go. I totally need to go.
Okay, this
and I talked to Roy the other day, and
Roy and Lisa run this place. I'm telling about the kind of going off of his story. When we went to the gas station, we just sat down to eat barbecue, and Ed Neal, the hitchhiker from the original, puts his hand on my shoulder and he goes, when we were signing autographs out here for the guys, they were so the cops. They were so grateful for all the stuff we had stopped, all with the Leatherface rumors. So he said crime had actually stopped in that area. And I looked at Ed and I had a long beard and I said, "And why would you be signing autographs?" And he goes, "Well, I'm Ed Neal. I'm the hitchhiker." I lost my shit right there. I was like, "Oh my god, fanboy."
Dude, you guys, Lance, you just gave me a brilliant idea. We need to pitch a network show where we travel around the country, going to different areas of horror movies where they were done, and talking to the people, and having guests like Tyler on that have never been there, picking them up and taking them to the fucking location, and doing a segment there.
Hell yeah.
We need to fucking write this and pitch this and fucking do this.
You know what I would like to do?
We are going to be a traveling fucking podcast.
Well, and something else that I'd like to do is, and I had mentioned something to Roy, but I don't know if he really caught what I was going after here. So I work in the food industry now, and I work with a lot of barbecue joints here in Colorado, and a lot of chefs and everything. And there's a couple chefs that I would like to take out there that have been on the Food Network, and they've gone against Bundy and all that kind of stuff, and take them out to this place. And so it would be me, and I don't mean this arrogantly, but me being a member of the Chainsaw family,
Right. It is.
you know, being there with some chefs to talk to the chefs over at the gas station and kind of, you know, like just kind of bring in like these two different worlds together.
I think it's Ben Hughes. Right. I think Ben's the
and talk about the barbecue and talk about all the different. Oh, my wife is going to sneak in behind me. She's being cool.
Hello, Miss Cone.
Hi, Mrs. Cone. Hi, Mrs. Cone. That's awesome.
It's all red.
It's a weirdo. Here, come say hi. Come say hi.
Why?
Come say hi.
Here.
Come say hi.
Hi, Sacrificial Terror Podcast.
Hey.
Hi, Miss Cone. How are you?
Hey, really good.
You guys hear her okay?
Yeah, that microphone's on.
Absolutely.
It's a good microphone.
You want that one?
That's awesome.
I can hear now, too.
Hi, Mrs. Cone.
Yay, hi, Miss Cone.
Sorry, I just was feeling jealous of all the attention, I guess.
Oh.
I had to bust in.
Yeah, we saw you in the back doing backflips and stuff on the trampoline.
Sorry.
You're back there.
I told him he should do it inside, but, you know, just add more flavor to the podcast, I assume.
Right?
Yeah.
No, it's awesome. The ambiance and everything behind you guys and everything
cool.
going on, it's phenomenal. You guys are great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
She and I met before Chainsaw. She and I met in middle school, and I asked.
Kind of.
I was in 8th grade and she was in 7th grade. I had just moved there from Oklahoma. I didn't know anybody.
Oh boy, I'm gonna go ahead and give this back to you.
And I asked her to dance with me, and she said, "I'll be right back," and never came back.
What?
Oh,
Mrs. Cone.
Hey, that kind of sounds like a Lance and Sam story.
Yeah, it is.
Seriously?
Yeah. It took me 30 years
Let's
to
go,
get her,
Lance.
though.
Come on, let's go, Lance.
Yeah.
To be fair, I had an older brother, and I was only in 6th grade, and I knew what boys were like. Why? At the time, I just was like, they're nasty, they're stinky. This guy remembers what he wore that night, I think.
Wow.
From Oklahoma, and that was a totally different place than where I was from. And
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Bravo, Tyler.
You know what?
I have a new respect and appration
What
for
a
you, my friend.
romantic. That's awesome.
Oh, we got kids. Hi,
That's my
kitties.
son.
Hey,
Should I bring in mine now?
I think it's okay now.
I'm so sorry. We're totally screwing this up. All right, y'all go back to
Everybody's going to watch this. There's a lot of people.
Dude, he's got s'mores. I want s'mores.
I want some more.
Sorry, guys.
I have s'mores
Oh, it's
That
all
was
good.
awesome. That was
Is
awesome.
that all right?
Absolutely.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
There's no rules on the STP. Come on.
That's right.
Hey, I'm going to ask a zombie
Yes, sir.
because she just watched it last night. So, what are you? You were laughing your ass off. She was inboxing me. She was laughing her ass off. She was like, "He's a jerk."
Oh my God, he's such a dick.
I was like, he's a douchebag. Well, those two, I really liked those two lines that you had said that you shit. Now I'm like losing my train of thought.
That I improvised?
Yeah, the one where you told her to shut up.
Yeah.
And then we were, I got an idea. Let me go check around the back, bitch.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, those were mine. I got to Kim let me
That's awesome.
run my own lines. So yeah,
Hell yeah.
the shut up was a big one, and then
shut up.
hey, I have an idea. Why don't I go check, bitch? And that
I love the prostrate though. That's awesome. When you tell about that, you're like, isn't it prostate?
yeah, I know. He's like, no,
Prostrate.
it'd be really funny if you say prostrate.
Yes, that's awesome.
But there was a little bit of confusion. You know, when you watch a movie, and I'm sure when you saw it, that it was, there's this whole dynamic that Kim wanted to have between me and Lisa, and then Sean and Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
He actually wanted to cross it. So he wanted me to end up with Jenny, and then he wanted Sean to end up with Heather.
Oh.
At some point, like, but again, why?
Mhm.
You know, like he had a reason for it, but that would have taken up way too much time to try to like intertwine these relationships and make it make sense and all that kind of stuff. That's why there's that one line, or there's the scene where I'm walking around with, or I'm walking down the dirt road with Heather, and she's like, you know, I wish I was more like Jenny. I'm like, why? She's a dog. And it's like, you know, you don't know. And then that whole, like, if you think about it in the context that Kim wanted you to think, it makes more sense. But I kind of feel like a lot of that was lost in the film, because when she's like, she's got a body to die for, and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Like, and it just drops from there. It's like, where does it go? You know, so there was, like, he really did have intentions for there to be more of a storyline with the teenagers, but obviously you can't really have that, especially in a film where you've got to have the action and you got to have the horror and the suspense and all that kind of stuff. So he kind of he had to let a lot of that stuff go. But what I feel like they held on to might have been a little confusing.
Right.
There was one that's totally random and off that subject, but you know when Matthew McConaughey is like screaming in her fucking ear, in Renee Zellweger's ear, like he's screaming in her ear. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine actually filming that. She probably had a headache.
Yeah.
Just holding her face and just screaming.
There was a lot of intensity on the set. So between Robbie and Lisa, there was a lot of, like, with the wrestling while she's screaming and all that kind of stuff. There was a lot of energy with that. When it came down to Matthew had, because he was already on Dazed Confused, so he was already kind of this big star. So when I showed up on the set, everybody already knew who he was. Jaden, what are you doing? Everybody already knew who he was, and I remember, like, everybody was like, he's gonna be a big star. And I'm 19, and I walk up behind him for the first time that I ever meet him, and he's killing Josh. He's doing the breaking the neck on the street thing. And I remember walking up behind him while they're filming that scene, and I was kind of like, I don't know.
You know, the big deal is
about this guy, you know? And so, you know, and so I had a lot of that happening, but it was, damn it, where was I going? Where was I?
about Matthew.
Right before it.
Miss Producer Lady.
Screaming in her
The
ear.
screaming,
There's
the
a lot
screaming,
of
yes.
tension on the.
So here's the thing: is Matthew? Yes, thank you. Sorry.
Good job, honey.
So,
I usually have a bad memory. I'm doing all right.
You're on it
Awesome.
tonight.
so
I've got one
was a
for
big
it.
enough star at the time to have a bench press near every scene.
He had that?
Yes. So
Oh.
before every scene, he would do a bunch of, like,
Get all pumped up.
Reps, yeah.
to get all repped up, and then
Yeah.
he would go and do the scene with the intensity. So I remember, like, the scene where he goes into the bathroom where he cuts himself and everything. Like, he had just done a whole bunch of stuff, and then he goes into the bathroom and he's all intense and everything. And I remember watching that and thinking, like, what? Like, know what you're supposed to do?
Right.
You know, but it worked for him, I guess, you know, because he was intense. He was definitely over the top.
Oh yeah.
In a sense.
Where are they at on the behind the scenes stuff that you are they ever going to allow that stuff? Anyone ever going to allow that stuff?
I doubt it. I mean, I let Scream Factory have access to it, and they couldn't put it on there because Sony threatened lawsuits or whatever. But I've got footage of Renee and I dancing because we used to dance all the time on the set. We always did swing dancing, and we sang songs from Grease, and we sang songs from the Bee Gees, and we the big song that we always sang together was Nat King Cole and Natalie King Cole, the Unforgettable. So we always like sing this to each other, and we would dance and all this kind of stuff. And I have a bunch of footage.
I got chills, they're multiplying.
We didn't do that one. Didn't do that one. We were more along the lines of the I think she did some audition where she auditioned for Rizzo.
Oh
Yeah, she auditioned for Rizzo, and so she already had some of that music down and stuff. But yeah, we used to dance and have fun, and and nobody told me I couldn't have my camera on me.
Right.
So
right.
That's
I
cool.
have so much behind the scenes footage.
The water bottle. Had the water bottle.
Which one?
The water bottle.
Oh yeah. So
getting everybody wet.
There's one thing that she would take a spray bottle, and this is the scene inside of Darla's
The office.
Yeah, her office area, her real estate office area. So after WE had caught Jenny and she was in the office, so between the scenes, Renee would take this little spray bottle and she would go and like just talk to people, and she would like spray them in the crotch with a bottle of water. Or she would like walk behind him and she would spray him in the ass with a bottle of water. And so she would just like talk to people, and she would just give them the little eyes like this, and she's like spraying them in the crotch while they're talking to her and everything. And
no idea.
Smile.
Awesome.
It was awesome, man. I mean, she was like, we had a lot of freaking fun. Like I had more fun than I did like doing the scenes. It was awesome being behind the scenes. And Lisa and Renee and Lance, I think you may have seen this as well. There's a scene in my behind the scenes where Lisa and Renee are making fun of Matthew because Matthew at the time was way into Sonic, and he had all these reasons why Sonic was the best restaurant around with their ice and their ketchup packets.
Oh God.
And so they were so good at just like impersonating him and be like, oh, they got the best ice around, and just like Renee and Lisa were just doing this whole thing of making fun of Matthew. And it's a shame that like nobody can see this. Like I've got this, and I'm willing to share it with who anybody wants to see it. And it's just, I guess Sony Pictures is, apparently they're
fun.
They're gonna make it an issue if we try to show it to anybody.
So stupid. They should release it. People are gonna buy into that shit because they want to see it.
And it's mine, right? I mean, I shot it. It's my camera, so I should be able to show it to whoever I want to show it to, right?
Yeah. If you didn't sign anything about it, then yeah, you should.
Hey, dude, we can figure out a way around this, bro.
Yeah.
We can make this work.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I've got a friend, my friend Travis Mullins. He's been trying to figure out a way to make it work as well. And he's a writer, and he's written for some magazines and stuff, and really, really good guy. And I think that he's been trying to figure out some stuff as well, but he's trying to tread lightly. He doesn't want to get, anybody in any trouble or anything like that. But, he and I have talked about, he's been wanting to do a documentary on the making of the Next Generation. And he's gotten in touch with a lot of people that I haven't talked to in years, and he's been trying to do things, but it's just so hard to try to make everything happen and in such a short time frame when you need it to happen, Yeah. So, but he's been working his butt off. He's done a good job trying to get me into, man, these mosquitoes are bananas. He's been doing a job trying to, keep me in it. And he actually, Travis is the reason why I kind of got back into, because he wanted to do an interview, and I forgot what the magazine was, but he wanted to interview me. And so I interviewed, and I haven't done anything with Chainsaw in years. And then I did an interview with him, and then it went into a magazine, and that kind of led to me going to the Cult Classic convention. And then that led to me meeting Lance and, meeting you, both of you. And so it's been kind of an interesting, completely unexpected, but completely I'm so thankful that we had the after party at the convention.
And I'm just some geek off the street, you know. I'm sitting there talking to Tyler, and he's just like, I'm just a regular guy, and he's and not just me, other guys too that were with me. And he's just talking to me, and I keep looking at him, and they're like, "Dude, what's your problem?" I said, "Why isn't this guy doing more movies?" You know, I'm like, "Look at the guy. You know, he should be the next big deal. You know."
No, dude, he's a fucking beast, man. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Lance, because I actually wanted to talk to Tyler and see if he's ever actually done any character acting or like any creature acting. And there's a reason I'm asking.
Uh-oh.
Okay,
Oh,
so
shit.
I haven't done any creature acting. I've done makeup. I've got a friend. Her name is Monster Midian, Midian Crosby, and she's a great special effects artist. And she's done a lot of work with me, and she's made me look old. She's made me look like she's done my nose, kind of like a Sin City kind of thing.
Oh, cool.
And like I've done that, but I've never had the opportunity to actually like get into the character.
Like a 13 Ghost kind of character?
I don't know that one.
You don't know 13 Ghosts?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that's
Sorry.
a good one.
You gotta
That's
watch
okay.
it.
Yeah, it's a homework assignment for Tyler. He's got to
Okay,
watch
13
Alright.
Ghosts.
13
Okay.
Ghosts.
Yes, 13 Ghosts.
Not
Okay,
the one
so
with
we have...
Wait. Not the one
Yeah.
with Vincent Price. The new one.
the remake.
Yes.
Yeah, do the remake.
Okay.
Yeah, with the guy from, what the hell was that show?
Matthew
Tony
Shalhoub.
Shalhoub.
Tony
Oh,
Shalhoub,
Tony
yeah.
Shalhoub. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Shannon Elizabeth.
okay. Okay, so we have Diana that owes us a book report on The Cell. We have Tyler that now owes us a book report on 13 Ghosts.
Yep.
But there's a reason I'm asking, and the reason I'm asking is because my next film, I would absolutely love if you would consider being one of the lead characters.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
That'd be so
Fuck yeah.
fucking cool.
And
So,
like,
That's awesome.
yeah.
but you would be a homicidal. You would be a homicidal spirit. That is,
He can do it.
you know,
He can do
fucking
it.
destroying. You're destroying people. So
He can do it.
we'll have to talk off screen.
Yeah.
But basically, it's a mixture between Pirates of the Caribbean and 13 Ghosts in steampunk fashion on a train.
Nice. See, I like that. Okay, so
That's awesome.
so here's my most recent dilemma. And sorry, it's getting dark out here.
Looks
No,
awesome.
it's great.
Looks awesome.
It's good ambiance. We love it.
You know, as an actor, you have you want to be yourself, right? And you don't really want to, even as a character actor, you have to be able to pull in different characters and stuff like that.
Right.
So I recently auditioned for something, a TV show in Atlanta, and when I watched it, because you can tape auditions now and send them up, when I watched it, I'm like, like, I know, like, I like to play a bad guy, but when I do a bad guy, maybe it's my voice or it's my tone or whatever it is, I'm not like, and even though I know Zombie says that I'm like the doppelganger for Negan,
Yeah.
but I don't have that low voice kind of word of the
Grr is a word when you say it.
Whereas mine I feel has a little bit more of a trying to think of the right word. It's just like I can play the bad guy, but it's more of a somebody help me out here.
Sympathetic bad guy or
Not sympathetic, more
Sarcastic,
is effeminate,
menacing.
the way that Jack Sparrow is, and
oh okay.
Oh.
where he's a little
Okay.
bit more effeminate,
Right.
Right. Yeah.
and not that's just it's my natural however my voice is,
More soothing, quieter kind of.
yeah, and it's more of like that character is more of a, I believe it's I don't know, for lack of a better word, whatever I can do is it's just more thoughtful.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Gotcha.
Which kind of comes across. And so what I'm wondering is, can I be a character actor like that and still allow my own personality to come through in that sense. You know,
well, absolutely. And here's the thing, because you have that effeminate low tone about you, we can make that extremely menacing in the right part, because instead of using a boom mic for your sound, we would use a lav.
Yeah, there you go.
And so that way it still picks up nice
Hollywood
sound,
movie magic, man.
but
Hollywood
magic,
you know, and so it still picks up that nice clean sound. But you're also getting the true like personality undertones in the scene when you capture it.
Right.
Yeah. That's exciting.
No, I think that's, I think that would be awesome.
So Lance Rhiannon, meet your guys' co-star.
That's awesome. I love it.
That would be great.
Hell yeah. No, but I'm not doing any of that until we finish up Normal Terror. Once I get it out the door, and I actually wanted to let everybody know, L2, okay, we absolutely love you. We now have
awesome.
the stickers. Look at that. There's Normal Terror. Let me try and get the thing off of here. Okay, here's the stickers for Normal Terror. Is that better right there?
Yeah, I can
got
see
it. That's awesome.
Looks like that waterfall is
so, and look how many there are.
Man,
dude, look how many there are.
L2 came through.
Okay, and not only did L2 do that, okay, but L2 also got these badasses right here.
I'm on a sticker.
Look at that.
You're a sticker.
Yeah.
Read it.
Hell yeah, we do. Look at this beast right here, man.
I know.
Dude, you're a sexy bitch, Lance.
Thank you.
The three of you are, I mean, it's the perfect podcast.
Thank you, Tyler.
Oh, thank you.
Together, and just like the conversation is so easy. It doesn't feel like anybody's talking over anybody else. I wish that Rhiannon had a little bit more of a chance.
Right.
I'm
a little bit.
She's keeping up. She was keeping up for us.
I'm keeping you on track.
She's the heart and soul of this show, man. Without her, we wouldn't have what we have. She's beautiful. She's amazing. She keeps us on track. She keeps us in line, and she isn't afraid to give me the finger and tell me to go fuck myself.
That's right.
Pretty much.
For anybody.
Dude,
I'm sure anybody.
Woman.
Or anybody.
She is the perfect woman.
I just messed up all of our light. Doesn't it look like fire?
It's raining fire.
Yeah,
it does.
That is cool.
Dude, more
Looks
movie
like
magic.
you're in hell.
Yes. I'm telling you, James Cameron's freaking directing.
Right?
That's awesome.
So, hey, you wouldn't mind if I actually quoted you as far as what you said about this being the perfect podcast, would you?
No, not at all.
That's awesome.
No, not at all. Like,
dude, we're gonna advertise that.
I'll record it. Yeah, like.
Dude, well, we already have it recorded.
Yeah, it's recorded right now.
Yeah.
2 hours of awesomeness.
Hey, right. why don't we take and after we stop recording on the actual episode itself, why don't we take and get a couple of promos with, if you don't mind, Tyler, doing a couple of promos, saying, hey, I'm Tyler, Tyler Shea Cone from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, whatever your other projects are. And, I support Texas Chainsaw Terror podcast, kind of like you'd hear on the radio.
Absolutely. I love you guys.
Sweet.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. That'd be awesome. Nice. Thank you. Okay. So what other projects do you have coming up? What do you have going on?
Right now there's a pilot that I shot in Austin last October. That was sorry, hang on one second. This is really bright.
That's
it really does look like it's water falling fire.
That's cool.
There's a little bit of is that light better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that works.
It does
great.
look like it's falling fire.
It does. It's crazy. It looks pretty awesome.
He's caught it. He caught it.
No, Tyler, you got to do a Kamehameha. Kamehameha.
That's over my head.
That's awesome.
Dude, it's a Dragon Ball Z reference, man.
Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, okay.
So last September I shot a pilot with TF Motion Pictures and Have Not Films called Red Runners, and we should be seeing a pilot sometime, or we should be seeing a trailer sometime soon.
Nice.
I can't, because of the NDA, I can't talk too much about it, but it's on IMDb, and we do have, we've had some pictures show up on social media and everything. I think it's going to be really cool. It's a sci-fi pilot, and the character that I play is kind of a mean, tough guy.
Wolf.
Wolf.
Nice.
Yeah. Wolf with 2 Fs.
2 Fs. That's right.
Ooh.
So
now, is there an E at the end?
Nope.
There's no E at the end?
Nope. Just 2 Fs.
Nice.
Yep, just 2 Fs. So hopefully that's going to be, hopefully we'll see some of that soon. And right now I'm auditioning for stuff in New Mexico quite a bit, and Atlanta, Texas, and hopefully we'll see more. But I mean, I am kind of landlocked right now. I'm in Colorado, and there's not a lot of stuff happening in Colorado, and so any work that I can go for is always going to be out in New Mexico, Texas, Atlanta, or Los Angeles.
Did Netflix do that thing you were telling me about in New Mexico? Remember you were telling me about Netflix bought a bunch of land or something? Or?
No, they bought a studio. Netflix
Okay.
bought ABQ Studios, and New Mexico now has they did. I think they released the cap. So for anybody out there that doesn't understand how like tax incentives work, films will generally go to a place where they get a lot of tax incentives for the films that they make. So if you're going to do a $10 million film and you're going to come in and get a tax break on it, you're going to be able to reduce a lot of your budget right there. Right.
Right.
So in Texas, when we did Chainsaw, when Robert Rodriguez started off there, when Richard Linklater started off there, we did Chainsaw. That's when Ann Richards in Texas started to bring a lot of those incentives into Texas.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
Then what happened was, as that grew, some other areas kind of picked up on that. So Louisiana has a little bit. Atlanta, the reason why most Marvel films and everything is being done in Atlanta, because they were the first ones to just take the top off. It's like it's unlimited. Whoever comes in, they're going to get a tax break on it.
Wow.
New Mexico, I believe, was something around 43, around there, like 43 million.
Yeah, I got a few friends that are filming out in New Mexico.
Okay, so they have those tax incentives there, but Netflix bought ABQ Studios, and then I also heard recently that they took the cap off they took the cap off in New Mexico as well. So that means that Atlanta and New Mexico will now have more of an unlimited budget for the tax incentives, which is only going to make Texas kind of raise theirs as well, because they're trying to compete with
Well, and they're midway, so they're kind of in between the two. So really, they have to do something if they want to be competitive.
Yes, absolutely, and because of everything that's happening politically with Georgia right now, I think Texas has a good opportunity to kind of step up and you try to bring people in and make more happen in Texas. Now, the numbers that I just threw out there with unlimited and 43 million and so on and so forth, Colorado has 3 million. So I live in an area, sorry, there's like mosquitoes everywhere. I live in an area where the incentives just aren't there. So if anybody's going to do a film here, it's only going to be because they have to. You can do some commercials. You can do like a horse commercial. You can do Colorado Lottery, something like that. And so I'm just unfortunately in an area, and I love living out here. I mean, the weather's great. The insects are fantastic. I mean,
It looks like they're flying around you now.
they're always trying to kiss me.
Well, hey, dude, you're a star, man. No matter where you are a star, my friend.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
We're actually looking at filming in Idaho for my next feature. So
Nice.
Oh,
Cool. I think that'd be great, man. I would love to, the only time that I really, other than just, I mean, obviously the best times in your life are with your family and your kids and everything. But and when I'm on a set, to me, it's just the only place that I want to be.
Yeah.
You know? And it's so much fun being on a set. And even on the tough days, even on the long days, even on the days like when we did Red Runners, I remember I was up till, I think I stayed up all night. I remember at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I was fine. I had no problem being up that time because you have that energy. You know what you're doing.
Yes.
That's what you want to do.
Right.
So, just being on any set, not any set. There's been some bad sets.
Some sets suck.
Some sets suck. They do.
We're not going to discuss sucky sets on our show.
Right.
Happy time.
But when you have an opportunity and you're working with somebody who trusts you and they're going to let you, do what you want to do with your character and do what you want to do with the lines and everything. I mean, it's just incredible to have that experience. I did a proof of concept recently, and I don't have an NDA on it, so I can talk about it.
Nice.
It's called the Murderers Group, and hopefully, that's something that's going to be pretty good as well. But I thought it was a cool concept, because, it's people who go to therapy. It's almost like James Gandolfini,
Sopranos.
Where you go and you can kind of talk about some of the shady stuff that you do.
Right.
So this Murderers Group is people that have committed murders and they have gotten away with it, but they're still trying to figure out how to live with it. And I got to do that. And even then, just doing that proof of concept was just so much fun, just to meet the people and to sit there and do the scene, work with people and make eye contact to somebody and do a scene. Like,
oh, wow.
I love it. I love acting. I really do.
See, that was the really hard part for me. Yesterday, I was filming the opening of my movie, which is a podcast scene. We were in chaoticradio.com out here in, where the fuck is it? Out in the Pasadena area off the 10. Anyways, I'll get that information later. Jeff Janke, I'm really sorry about that, guys. I'm completely spaced out right now. But yesterday because in Normal Terror, I wrote it, I'm directing it, producing it, and starring in it. But yesterday, I was filming everybody else, and I wasn't actually on camera. And it was really weird, but it was really fucking awesome to be in that position where, I'm watching it come together, and I'm watching the camera, and I'm watching, the look and how everything's, working out and coming together and directing them, giving guidance and pulling it all together to get it right on camera. And then watching the playback and all that stuff, is just, for me, there's no better feeling in the world.
But did you miss being on in front of the camera?
Yesterday in that particular instance, I did not.
Oh, okay. Because you had things going on that,
Right. I was doing the blocking, I was doing the lighting, I was setting up, I was, running camera angles and, figuring out how we were going to do the shot and what they were going to say and, and all this other stuff. So I had so much other stuff going on, plus I had 3 casts that were interacting on a highly improv level. So, it was, to catch them and capture that, was just an amazing experience.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I tried to do behind the camera once.
Yeah. I can't operate a camera for shit, so don't think I mean that.
No, I mean any role behind it. I like being in front of the camera.
That's right.
There you go.
That's right.
No. Okay, so what?
Yeah. Those people are tough. Oh, there's a big toad over there. We have huge toads. Like,
is it not a pollywog?
This one's a toad.
I don't want no part of those things.
No.
I heard if you lick them that you can trip.
Oh, wow.
We should test that theory.
Do it real quick.
Caden.
Dude, if my kid was there, he would do that. Right?
Lick that toad.
So, yeah, exactly.
What do you feel?
So you have Red Runner. You're going to be playing Wolf. You just talked about another project you're going to be doing. Is that what you guys have in the works right now? Is there anything else going on?
That's what I have in the works right now. There's a couple other things that have been in the talks or in the works, but I've been in the union for since '96,
Right.
and so that kind of limits me on what I can do. Now, I could go FICOR, or I could just let that go. Sam, you mentioned FICOR earlier.
Mhm.
The union does a really good job of threatening, if you go FICOR or anything like that, of pretty much telling you like, well, you could do that, but there's a good chance that we're not going to let you back in or anything like that.
Right.
Because I'm auditioning in Atlanta and New Mexico and everything, I really don't want to risk that. So I've been pretty careful about, you know, the projects and stuff, but it's tough because I could do a lot more.
Right.
You know, if I didn't have, you know, one hand tied behind my back. And I really wish that there.
He's bringing the toad. Oh my gosh!
Oh,
look at his little belly.
Yes.
Oh no.
Hey, frog legs, anybody?
Oh,
Oh,
gross.
Lord.
That's just
I'm a city boy all day.
nasty.
Zombie set up on that.
Sorry, guys. Like,
No, it's all good.
His little
That's
belly
what we do here.
all fat.
how many people have been guests on your show that brought a toad?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Nobody, but usually,
First, probably the only one.
but usually I'm the one that has the interruptions, whether it be my honey buns or whether it be my drinks or, you know, my burps or my kid walking in shirtless, you know. I mean, it's, you know, it's just.
It's
Oh,
honey
yeah,
buns.
dude. Well, I don't have honey buns today. Today I have McGriddles.
Oh, honey buns are actual food. Oh, okay. Got it. I thought honey buns was like
No, I'm going to get some shit from Rhiannon after this one. But I love you. I love you.
She's like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's pissed right now.
It's all your fucking.
If she had lasers in her eyes, I'd be dead already.
My mom used to give me shit about
could
that.
we do this? Like, if what I would like to do is, if I hear some good news from Red Runners or something like that, I would love to be a guest on your show again.
Hell yeah!
So if we could just stay in contact, and if I have some news, you know, we can get back together and we can talk about you know, what I got going on, what you guys got going on, Sam, like with your movie and stuff. I mean, is that cool? Of
course.
And she's
absolutely.
This is a nice group. I'm gonna bring my fingers on like this.
Oh,
group hug, everybody, group hug.
Yep.
She's gonna be an
awesome. I think that was our first official group hug.
Tyler, she's got books coming out too.
I know. I saw that. Congratulations.
Awesome?
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So is that available on Amazon now?
Not yet. So my release is October 7th.
Okay. I'm going to buy a book.
Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be 3 in the series. So the first one releases October 7th. I'm not sure about the second one. And the third one, I'm almost completed, but we're working on the cover right now.
Okay, cool.
Nice. So fucking proud of you.
We're excited. It's been a long time.
So, all right. So I think we're about to the point where we're going to go ahead and wrap on up. Tyler, it has been absolutely amazing having you on the show, brother. It has been a great experience. It's been very natural. You know, it was very unforced. You know, and I think you were a great guest. We'd love to have you back anytime you have anything going on. And I look forward to working with you, you know, in my next production. You know, and not that that's a contract or anything. You know, we're not obligated as of yet. But I'm going to figure out a way. I'm going to figure out a way to get those contracts done. So I'm going to have to talk to my executive producer and figure something out because we need to get that going. And then, you know, yeah, so we're going to go ahead and wrap on up. And then after we wrap up, if you would just hang on the line and we'll go ahead and do some stuff. So for everybody out there that didn't hear earlier, Tyler's going to do some promo stuff for us and talk about how much he loves this show. And we're going to do an improv and have a good time. And we will put that motherfucker out ASAP. Woo!
That's right.
Motherfucker out.
Yeah. Because I'm Samuel motherfucking Mason. So.
Yeah. Samuel
Eam.
Mason.
Oh. All right, Zombie. Who you want to shout out to this week?
I want to shout out to obviously you guys. I love you guys so much, and this show is just incredible. I love doing it. Samantha, I want you to get better. We miss you. We love you. This really sucks. So prayers always. Aaron Lee from Crazy Ink Publishing, Diana Register, who is also an author through Crazy Ink. So that for sure. October 7th, my release date will be. Also, Three Bodies,
For the Broken Halo series.
Oh yeah, thank you. Broken Halo series. Always when I forget, I'm like, shit, I need to make a list because I forgot.
Right.
There is a short film coming out called Three Bodies, One Grave. I don't know a release date yet, but it's a Friday the 13th fan film. It will have Elias. Elias Voorhees is the first one shown on screen.
First ever.
Yeah, it was shown in front of a huge audience for the Rocky Horror Picture Show live
awesome.
production. Yeah, so be on the lookout for that. It's by Christopher Inlow with Christopher Inlow Entertainment. And then there's a movie coming out called The Darknet, by Johnny Johnson with Darkstone Entertainment. So I have a part in that as well. So that should be out this year, hopefully. And that's about it.
Good stuff.
All right, Lance, what you got, brother?
Just want my wife to get better. Samantha, she's struggling right now, but she's there's the finish lines and it's in sight. And
she sounded great today when I talked to her.
Yeah, and she told me she wanted me to record, so don't get mad at me for not being with her, people. So yeah, she told me to come record. The show must go on, she said. And I can't thank Tyler enough for coming on. I was so excited when he was like, "Yes, I'll come on the podcast." And this day could not get here fast enough, and I'm so glad he's here.
Yes.
And
I
want to tell Sam and Rhiannon thank you because this last week's been pretty tough. So they've been with us the whole way. And the L2, Damon, David, the regulars, Thad, all those guys have been awesome for me too. I love those guys like brothers. And L2 with the freaking stickers, that's amazing.
Those are cool.
Right.
And we had that little live thing the other day where we talked about all the guys that won the contest.
We have the contest winners.
Yeah,
and you guys are going to have to be patient with me. I'm working on getting everything together, and we'll figure out how we're going to put out their care packages and whatnot. But yeah, Lance, you go ahead and finish up your promo, and then I'll go into a little spiel real quick.
And once again, the gas station, Roy and Lisa Rose are freaking awesome. Best barbecue in the world. You never know who might be in there. They've had celebrities roll in and out of that place all day. So go check that place. That's in Bastrop, right outside of Austin, Texas. And more art from Brian Clegg back there. So and Tyler knows Brian. That's some of his artwork. That's some of his artwork back there.
Brian's fantastic.
There's Tyler back there too.
Yeah.
He's right behind you.
Right there.
Yep, right there. There he is.
He signed it for me too.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, I just want to say Oakley Dokley. I'm done.
So, all right, guys. This is the part of the show where we're going to talk about our sponsor. We do have a sponsor, and Sacrificial Terror Podcast wants to talk about our sponsor, Energy Upgrade. They're the best in the Santa Clarita Valley, and my friend Mia can offer you some rockin' deals. If you're interested in solar, contact Mia at Energy Upgrade, 661-367-0832. Absolutely zero upfront cost, 10-year warranty on your roof, and a 25-year warranty on your solar panels. Contact me to set up your appointment today at 661-367-0832.
Mia.
All right. And, my shout-outs this week, Bad Anger Pictures, Don Yeager and the guys over there, Ron Scott. Give those guys a huge thanks. L2, appreciate you guys so much, man. These are absolutely phenomenal. We fucking love you guys. So we do have some merchandise and stuff going out soon. We're going to be getting some pictures and stuff putting together, getting some autographs together for some stuff. So we are going to start having some merchandise coming together and start, putting out merchandise for our followers, our fans, and our family. Everybody out here at Sacrificial Terror and Sacrificial Pond Productions, we want to wish Sam the absolute best energy right now, and prayers up to her. She's a huge part of our show. We love her to death, and Lance, love you like a brother, man. You guys are family, and if there's anything you need whatsoever, we're there, no matter what, anytime, day or night. You know that. So thank you, Rhiannon. I love you, sweetheart. You're amazing. I couldn't be more honored to be walking this with you and having you as my co-host and our co-host and the owners of this show. Tyler, thank you so much for being out here. We appreciate you so much. And, for this week's show, man, number 9, I think we killed it. Matthew Price Thompson. If you guys need any of your graphic artwork, go see him. He does all of our artwork. He works for a lot of the stars.
Matthew McConaughey, too.
Matthew McConaughey is one of his clients.
That's awesome.
You guys, if you need any graphic artist work whatsoever, he is phenomenal. He's amazing. Matthew Price Thompson at MPT Graphics is our guy. So we love you guys. Thank you so much. We're out.
Bye.
Bye.
Until next time, bitches.